this place. I worship you. I worship you. Sing that again. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, never stop working. Even this beautiful Lord on your song sheet. When the storm is raging all around me, you are the peace that calms my troubled sea. When the cares of this world darken my days, you are the light that shines and shows me the way. Oh, the beauty of your majesty. On the cross you showed your love for me. Beautiful Lord, awesome and mighty, captured by this love I see. Beautiful Lord, tender and holy, your mercy brings me to my knees. It's your mercy that has made me free. Beautiful Lord. See, when my sin is all, when my sin is all that I can see, your grace remains the shelter that I see. When my weakness is all I can give, your gentle spirit gives me strength again. Oh, the beauty of your majesty. On the cross you showed your love for me. Beautiful Lord, awesome and mighty, captured by this love I see. Beautiful Lord, tender and holy, your mercy brings me to my knees. Beautiful Lord, awesome and mighty, captured by this love I see. Beautiful Lord, tender and holy, your mercy brings me to my knees. And I am lifted by your love to sing. It's your mercy that has made me free. And I am lifted by your love to sing. It's your mercy that has made me free. Beautiful Lord, awesome and mighty, captured by this love I see. Beautiful Lord, tender and holy, your mercy brings me to my knees. Beautiful Lord, awesome and mighty, captured by this love I see. Beautiful Lord, tender and holy, your mercy brings me to my knees. It's your mercy that has made me free. Beautiful Lord.
Hey River Church, Pastor Mark. Bet you don't know where I'm at. Well, I guess you do now. Check it out. Coming at you from DC, Washington DC today. Turn around here, you can see We got the World War II Memorial. We got Abraham Lincoln Memorial in the background. Hey, I just want to give you a couple quick announcements. First of all, congratulations to Blake and Ashley Hoskins on the birth of Hadley. Congratulations to both of you. And a lot of things great coming up at the river. First of all, let me tell you this. Okay, Boom Sports Camp. If you're not signed up yet, there's only a few more spots left. Sign up for Boom. Get your kids registered for our sports and arts camp. And then finally, Father's Day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Food truck, special gifts for dads, and also Kent Chevalier, the chaplain for the Pittsburgh Steelers, will be speaking. You don't want to miss this. Make it a priority. Be there. Father's Day, Boom, all that good stuff. Here we are in the nation's capital. Wow, if you've never been here, it's so beautiful. Here on the lawn, Washington Monument in the background. You know, Spider-Man climbed that. So, hey, watch these additional announcements. And we'll be back then to jump into the message. Take care.
Good morning and welcome to the Rivers online worship experience. My name is Dean Ward and I'm the lead pastor of the River, and I would especially like to invite both our New Kensington campus and the River Franklin Park who are joining in with us today. I want to invite you as we begin this message this morning to just stop and take a moment and share this experience with your friends, relatives, neighbors, coworkers, bosses, former prison inmates you had, whoever you would like to share this message with, I'd like to invite you to take the time to do that, whether on YouTube or on our interactive platform or on Facebook. However you would like to share this, please take a moment and do that now. Today, we are in the next part, I believe it's part 4 of our sermon series, just simply called A Beautiful Resistance. We're looking at Jesus and the Sermon on the Mount, and how in this fantastic sermon that he preached, the largest single body of teaching that we have gathered together in Matthew chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7, we're looking at this life that Jesus invites us to live. This life of resistance to the world's system. This life that aligns itself with the kingdom of God that Jesus is introducing, and the invitation to live in this life, to walk this life, and to be this life that he teaches us so clearly in the Sermon on the Mount. However, this resistance is beautiful. It's done beautifully and very intentionally. And so this summer, we are taking time to look at and break down this sermon. I love how this sermon begins. And this hillside, to me, when I first saw it, represented Jesus and his setting of the Sermon on the Mount, and I wanted to share it with you this morning. Come along with me now. Now, when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. Wow, that was quite a hike up this hill. Now, I can't imagine Jesus walking up the mountainside that he actually got winded or out of breath, but we'll probably never know. So this message today is just simply called A Salty Life. We are invited through Jesus Christ, as we live this beautiful resistance, to live a salty life. Now, some of you are so excited. My pastor said I can be as salty as I want to be. It's a license to be rude and nasty and salty and difficult and challenging. Well, hold on. Let's read the first few verses of today's passage to understand better what Jesus is inviting us to live. In Matthew chapter 5, beginning at verse 13, Jesus began to teach them, and he said, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again?" Now, I hadn't really planned on pausing here, but it just helped me realize there are a lot of people that follow Christ. There are a lot of people that have given their life to Christ who at one point in their life have been all in. And for whatever reason, they've lost their saltiness. They've lost their passion. They've lost their influence. They've lost the desire to trust Christ's plan for their lives. They've lost trust and hope that Jesus, church, is worth giving yourself to. If you're in that category, I want to invite you to just stay with me. I want to invite you to consider engaging fully again. So Jesus says, you're the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Jesus continues, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, now don't miss this. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You know, today's message is a fairly simple one. It's not real complex. We're not diving super deep into exegetical, idiosyncrasies. We are sticking with the words of Jesus. But where it gets tricky is looking at how we are or are not living these words in our lives. Now, this passage is so important because the world cannot taste and see if we are not salt and light. It's so important that as followers of Christ, as members of the citizens of the kingdom of heaven, that we live as the light of the world and the salt of the earth. And the world can't taste and see if we are not salt and light. I love this verse in Psalm 34, verse 8. David is writing and he says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him." I love the way the Message translates this. It says, "Open your mouth and taste. Open your eyes and see how good God is. Blessed are you who run to him." If we choose not to be salt and light, if we choose to hide the light that has been entrusted to us away from everyone else, the world loses out. If we choose not to flavor the world around us with the grace of Jesus Christ, the world doesn't get to taste how good God is. We are invited to be light and salt, because a bright light brightens a dark world. And I don't know if you have tapped in lately to just how dark our world is, how broken our world is, and the opportunity that we get to brighten that world through the light that has been entrusted to us. A bright light brightens a dark world, and a salty life reveals thirst in a parched world. It's not our job to make people thirsty. It is our job as salt to help others see just how thirsty they are, to help others see the parched world that we're living in. I want to invite you to engage with this video that we're about to show. It's just simply called Light of the World. And I love the way this video describes the light of God and how it resides in us and what we are called to do because of that. Let's enjoy this video together.
In the beginning, darkness covered the earth. And God said, "Let there be light." and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. The true light, which gives light to everyone, came into the world. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. It is a light for the lost, the searching and the seeking. A light for the darkest valley. A light to drive out fear, even in the shadow of death. When we believe in the light, we become children of the light. It shines in us, through us. If we walk in the light, if we let it shine before others, we become a city on a hill, the light of the world. When we let His word light our path, others will follow. We become a beacon of hope to a world in darkness. Our lives reflect the glory of His resurrection. He makes us a light for the nations, so His salvation may reach to the end of the earth. Let there be light. For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light.
I love the way that verse ends in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8. It describes our calling in this beautiful resistance when it says, walk as children of light. Well, what does that look like? How do we do that? Well, as we read Jesus' message to us in the Sermon on the Mount, we see very clearly some very clear ways that we are called to walk as children of the light. The first one is found in verses a little bit later in this chapter, where we are invited to just simply tell the truth, to live our lives honestly, to live our lives in a manner that's believable. Many of us know this part of Scripture as advising us to let our yes be yes and our no be no. Matthew 5, verse 33 begins, "Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'Do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made.' But I tell you," Jesus says, "do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is His footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one." We can be salt and light. We can walk as children of the light by telling the truth, by being honest, by guarding the integrity of what we say and following through with what we say. Before I was a pastor, some 25 years ago, I was a professional scuba diver for golf balls at golf courses. I went within a 5-hour radius of Pittsburgh, and we dove at nearly 150 golf courses and grew to where we were pulling out over 1 million golf balls a year. This was my full-time job. And when my wife met me and she said, "No, what do you really do for a living?" I'm like, "It's golf balls." Well, I had watched the golf ball market in 1995 was fantastic. I could sell every golf ball that I pulled out from the lakes, and my profit margin was about 10 cents a ball. And so whatever the course wanted to do with the balls, I was able to arrange the golf balls in such a way that it was profitable for me and profitable for them. So if I paid them 10 cents a ball, I could sell all the balls for 20 cents. If they wanted all the balls, they could buy them from me at 10 cents a piece. Whatever the deal they wanted, we could make happen. But then in 1996, the golf ball market, the used golf ball market got flooded and it collapsed. It got to where I could not even sell one golf ball that I put out, and we would pull out thousands a day. I couldn't sell them for 13 cents a piece. And when I was paying the course 10 cents a piece, when I was paying my divers to get them out of the water, I couldn't make it work. So I was upside down that summer and couldn't figure out how to turn it around. And I had dove at one course kind of local to where I live, and it was the first time I dove there. And I owed the golf course owner about $375, something like that. And periodically throughout the summer, he would call me and say, hey, do you have my money? And I said, well, I'm getting ready to send it to you. And he'd call again about a month later, and I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to send it to you. Finally, about the third time we spoke, I said, it was into the fall now. I said, yes, I'm getting ready to send it to you. He said, Dean, you've been getting ready to send me that money all year long. Send me the check. I'm not your bank. By the end of the day, his check was in the mail. I realized at that point that I was not letting my yes be yes and my no be no. I was playing very careless with the truth, and I was trying to juggle everything, and I couldn't make it happen. And I started to fudge the truth to this individual. Now, I don't know if there are areas in your life where you're tempted or even pressured to not tell the truth, either for the benefit of the company that you work for or what you would think would be to your own benefit. And Jesus lets us know, hey, if you have to spend all of your time promising and promising and promising and promising, it's probably because your word isn't worth much. And he's letting us know, hey, live your life with such integrity when it comes to truth telling, that when you say yes, that's the truth. When you say no, that's the truth. And you don't have to pinky swear. You don't have to swear on your mother's grave. You can be honest and truthful. And that's how we get to be salt and light to a watching world. Jesus invites us to be salt and life, be salt and light. One of the most important ways we can do that is to live our lives with truthful integrity, to tell the truth, to be honest, and to shore up any area where we're playing a little sloppy with the truth. There's a second way that I would like to end with to show how Jesus invites us to walk as light in a dark world. It's found in Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And Jesus says, be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. Now, that's an interesting statement. And to it, I want to make sure that you understand this invitation to live publicly and privately for an audience of one. Let me finish reading this text. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Jesus is calling us to monitor our motives, to check our hearts and make sure that we are not living this kingdom life just so others can see us and say, oh, wow, isn't that Joe? Isn't he fantastic? Isn't he something else? Let's just all give a great round of applause for the amazing man of God that Joe is. Sorry, if your name's Joe, I'm not talking about you. I mean, not that you're not an amazing man of God, but the invitation, I thought this passage was basically first about just being generous privately, but it's about our motives. Jesus points out that our motives matter and we have to monitor our motives. Why are we being generous? Because we really want to bless the person we're being generous to? Or are we being generous so that people will see how generous we are and they will sing our praises? Live your life as though Jesus was the only audience you are living your life for. Because he is the one who matters. He is the one who notices. And if the whole world misses it, and yet Jesus sees our generosity, Jesus sees our love, Jesus sees our motives, then it's worth it. Now, sometimes we as a church give money away and we make that announcement that we're doing it, not to get praise, not to be seen by others, but to be an encouragement. Hey, if this church is being generous, I want to join in and I want to be generous. So it's not a total prohibition on giving and people knowing it publicly. But our motives in doing that, we check those. We make sure. When we gave money away in New Kensington to a local church plant that had just bought their own building and were renovating it, we let everybody know we were doing it, and we raised over $5,000 to bless them, to give it away. I got a call from a friend, said, hey, the newspaper heard about this story and they know that I go to the river, and they asked me if you would be willing to be interviewed because they found that to be very unique and quite rare for one nonprofit to bless another nonprofit that way. I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, and he looked at me and said, yeah, you're crazy. Like, you're crazy for doing that. Well, we did it because we really felt compelled to bless this church that we are a part of, God's church. So when they're blessed and they thrive, it's a blessing to everyone who follows Christ. And so I want to invite you to monitor your motives, to live as though Jesus were the only audience that you are performing for, that you are living your life for. Now, I'm going to close the message with just some honest questions. And I want to invite you to do a little introspection at this point. I want to ask, and I'll pause after I ask these questions, where do you shine your light? I was a little guy in children's church, and my mother was the children's church teacher, and she would bring in adults from the church and invite them to share with us how and where they shine their light. And I remember a man volunteering with the Gideons, and he shared about that, and I remember others sharing how they shined their light, and it stuck with me. So I want to ask, where and how do you shine your light? Or maybe the more telling question is, where don't you shine your light that you really should? Secondly, I want to ask, are people thirstier for the Lord after they encounter you? Like, what? Well, you know what it's like when you see somebody out. Like, I just ran into a friend of mine during the pandemic. Ran into him in the bakery at Giant Eagle. That ought to tell you something. And he has stature like mine. And I saw him and I could hardly recognize him because he had gotten so thin. Now, he wasn't in the bakery buying anything. He was just walking through. So I paused, I stopped, I said, "Hey, wow, tell me what you did." And he kind of walked through his routine and what changed and what shifted and why it shifted. And it inspired me. It's like, man, I want to do that. Or like when you hear about somebody whose child is going to college and they found out that they won these different scholarships, and you're like, oh, I want to know how to do that. I want to help my kids get scholarships when they go to college. You want to know how that happens. Or perhaps you have a friend with great hair and you like, hey, what barber do you go to? Now, that's not helpful to me on any level. But I just want to invite you to answer this question. Is your life flavored with love, with joy, with peace, with patience, with kindness, with goodness? Is your life flavored with faithfulness, gentleness, self-control? Is your life flavored with hope and grace? Because when your life is flavored that way, wow, people will become thirsty for what flavored your life that way. And so I want to invite you to answer the question, are people thirstier for the Lord after they encounter you? The third question I want to ask is just simply, where in your life are you careless with the truth? Can you take a moment and just ponder an area or two in your life where you've gotten a little carefree and careless with the truth? And finally, do you notice at times that you behave a certain way, hoping others will notice so that they think more of you? Pay attention to that, because it's our desire that we live our lives. It's God's desire that we live our lives in such a way that when people encounter us, they think more of Jesus. May you live a salty life. May you live a life that reveals the thirst that God has placed in other people's hearts and lives, that will help them see their desire and need for Jesus Christ. Amen. God bless you, everybody. Have a great week.